The city of angels never forgets a love story. The lights still shimmer on Rodeo Drive. The streets still whisper memories of that one unforgettable week when a businessman and a dreamer crossed paths and changed each other's lives forever. But time has a way of testing even the most perfect fairy tales. What happens when the same two souls meet again, after 30 years apart? This isn't just another story about love. It's about second chances, the kind that come when you least expect them, and only if your heart is still brave enough to say yes. The camera opens on the glittering skyline of modern-day Los Angeles. The city has grown taller, louder, faster, but somewhere in the calm hum of the morning traffic, a familiar melody plays softly in the background. Vivian Ward steps out of a black car, no longer the young woman who once dreamed of a better life, but a woman who built one. She's elegant, confident, and kind. Her eyes carry stories of struggle, of triumph, of learning that love doesn't always mean forever. She now runs a foundation for women starting over, helping them find their footing just as she once did. In a boardroom full of sharp suits and louder opinions, Vivian's calm voice cuts through. We help them believe in themselves again. Her world is full of purpose, but there's a quiet emptiness beneath the surface. Nights end with a cup of tea, a window view of the same city that once changed everything, and a question that never fades. Does he ever think about me? Cut to Edward Lewis, once the man who owned empires, now the man trying to rebuild himself. His name is still respected on Wall Street, but the thrill of the chase is gone. He's traded his high-rise office for a quieter life in Santa Barbara. Edward spends his mornings walking along the shore, his suit replaced by a simple shirt and open collar. The waves remind him of the moments he can't forget. Her laughter, her courage, her honesty. A photo rests on his desk, not framed, just tucked between papers. A picture of Vivian from years ago. He's never told anyone why he keeps it. Perhaps because it reminds him of the man he became when he met her. The narration grows softer, the music gentler. Time changes people, but some memories stay untouched, waiting for the right moment to breathe again. Back in Los Angeles, Vivian prepares for an annual charity gala, an event that brings together business leaders, philanthropists, and dreamers. The same kind of people Edward once knew too well. Her assistant reminds her, the guest list is impressive this year. Even Edward Lewis is rumored to attend. Vivian pauses. A faint smile, half surprise, half disbelief. She brushes it off with, a laugh. That's a name I haven't heard in years. But inside, her heart beats a little faster. The music swells with emotion. We see a quick montage. Edward receiving the same invitation, glancing at it quietly, unsure if he should go. A flash of Vivian adjusting her gown before the mirror, the reflection showing both strength and hesitation. The city lights flicker in the distance, as if fate itself is preparing for something long overdue. The narrator continues. They moved on, built lives, made peace with what was lost. But sometimes love doesn't end. It simply waits for courage, for timing, for a second chance. As the screen fades to black, a soft piano note lingers. The words appear on screen, Pretty Woman 2, Second Chances. Then a beat of silence, the calm before the storm. The night of the gala glows with golden lights and soft music. A sea of tuxedos and designer gowns fills the grand ballroom, laughter and champagne bubbles rising under the shimmering chandeliers. Cameras flash, orchestral strings hum in the background. The city's finest have gathered, unaware that destiny is quietly preparing its most unexpected reunion. Vivian steps out of her car, the click of her heels echoing against the marble floor. She carries herself with quiet confidence. Not the woman waiting for approval, but the one giving it. Her red gown flows behind her like a whisper of the past, a subtle nod to the color that once made her unforgettable. Inside, she moves from table to table, shaking hands, exchanging smiles. But her eyes keep wandering, almost searching, though she doesn't admit it, even to herself. The years have made her wise, but not immune to what the heart remembers. Cut to the entrance. Edward Lewis walks in, older, graceful, still commanding attention without trying. Time has softened his edges, but not his presence. He greets old partners, nods politely, but there's something in his expression, a quiet nervousness, the kind you feel before meeting a ghost. The narration slows. Sometimes the heart doesn't need directions. It knows where to go. Even after all these years, across the room, their eyes meet. Just for a second, but it's enough. The music dulls, the chatter fades, and everything else blurs. The same spark, the same recognition, now wrapped in time and distance. Vivian freezes, her breath catching. Edward stands still, unsure if what he's seeing is real or just a memory wearing red. They don't move toward each other. Not yet. Life has taught them caution. The moment breaks when someone calls Vivian's name, pulling her back into the crowd. She forces a smile, pretending the air around her hasn't just shifted completely. Later that evening, Edward finds himself standing near the balcony, a glass of wine untouched in his hand. The city lights stretch endlessly before him, the same view they once shared from a penthouse window. A voice from behind breaks his thoughts. Still thinking about the skyline? He turns. It's her. Vivian stands there, poised but nervous. The air between them is heavy with everything left unsaid. For a moment, neither speaks. They simply look. Older faces, wiser hearts, but the same pull that never really faded. Edward smiles softly, the kind that hides pain and wonder all at once. "I thought you'd forget this view," he says. Vivian laughs gently, her voice steady but her eyes glimmering. "Some things you don't forget. Some people, either silence again, the kind that says more than words ever could." The music inside shifts to a slow, instrumental version of "It Must Have Been Love." The narrator's voice returns, years apart, different worlds, and yet, in one heartbeat, everything feels like yesterday. They talk, small things at first, work, life, change. Their tone is polite, careful. But beneath every word lies the question they're both avoiding. Why did we let it go? Vivian looks out at the city and says quietly, "Funny, isn't it? How life gives you everything you asked for, except the one thing that mattered most." Edward looks at her, his eyes heavy with regret. "Maybe we thought success was the same as happiness." She nods, looking down. "And maybe we learned too late that it wasn't." A pause, the wind picks up, brushing against them like the city itself is holding its breath. "If you could go back," he starts, but doesn't finish. Vivian answers softly, "I wouldn't. But I'd stop running so fast." For the first time, he smiles, a real one, warm and tired all at once. "You always were braver than me." The music swells, the lights behind them flicker. In that moment, the camera slowly pulls away, showing the two of them standing side by side, a city of second chances glittering below. The narration deepens. Sometimes love doesn't come to teach us how to fall, but how to stand again. A gentle fade to black. The text appears on screen. Every story deserves one more chapter. Soft piano plays, leading into the next section. The past returns. The night after the gala, the city is quiet. The glow of Beverly Hills fades into the soft stillness of dawn. Vivian sits alone in her apartment, staring at her reflection in the window. The woman she sees is strong, but behind the strength lies a heart that remembers too much. The image of Edward's face keeps replaying in her mind. The surprise, the softness, the unfinished story. The narration begins calm but heavy. Some goodbyes never stay buried. Some moments echo long after the world has moved on. Vivian picks up her phone, types a message, then erases it. She exhales deeply, whispering to herself, "No, it's better this way." But the silence answers differently. She turns off the lights, and the screen fades into the early light of another morning. Cut to Edward. He's sitting at a cafe by the ocean, the same one they once visited years ago, though the staff, the walls, even the menu have changed. He stirs his coffee absent-mindedly, his mind far from the present. On the table lies a folded newspaper featuring an article about Vivian's charity work. He reads every word like it's a letter written to him. The narrator continues. "He built towers of success, but love was the one thing he never rebuilt. She found purpose, but never the peace that comes from closure." We see flashbacks. Grainy, dreamlike clips of the original story. Their first meeting, the laughter in the elevator, the night at the opera, the rooftop moment when he climbed the fire escape. Then it cuts to black. Once upon a time, they saved each other. But can you rescue the past? The next scene shifts to Vivian giving a speech at her foundation. Her words are powerful, but her voice trembles slightly as she talks about redemption, forgiveness, and starting over. Among the audience, a familiar face sits quietly. Edward. He doesn't announce himself. He simply listens. The camera focuses on his expression. Pride, regret, admiration, all mixed into one. When the event ends, she spots him standing at the back. This time, he doesn't disappear. He approaches slowly, carefully, as if afraid to break the moment. Edward, you were always the brave one. You didn't just change your life. You changed theirs. Vivian smiles faintly, her eyes wet. We both grew up, didn't we? He nods. Maybe. But I never stopped wondering how you were. They walk outside together. The air is warm, filled with the sound of traffic and distant laughter. A sense of something healing begins to rise, fragile but real. Vivian looks ahead and says softly, you know, for years I told myself that chapter was closed. Edward replies, maybe it wasn't the end. Maybe it was just a pause. The music swells, strings and piano weaving together. A montage follows. Vivian and Edward walking through Los Angeles again, older but lighter. She laughs at his old habits. He listens to her stories of the women she's helped. They visit familiar spots, the hotel, the street, the bridge overlooking the skyline. It's not a romance rekindled yet. It's something gentler, a reconnection. Narration deepens. Sometimes love doesn't return to repeat itself. It comes back to remind you who you were and who you still can be. But peace never lasts long. The next scene shows Edward getting a call, a business emergency, an investment gone wrong, a decision that could undo everything he's rebuilt. He hesitates before answering, caught between the life he used to live and the new one that's just beginning to breathe again. Vivian notices the change in his face. It's the old world calling again, isn't it? He sighs, looking away. It always finds me. She steps closer. Then maybe this time, you shouldn't answer. The silence stretches. The camera pulls back, the city glowing behind them. Their expressions hold the weight of decades, of choices made, chances missed, and the single question that still matters. Can love really survive time? The narrator's voice returns, low and steady. We spend our lives chasing what we lost, only to realize that what we were looking for was never gone. Edward finally smiles, just barely. I don't know where this goes, he says softly. Vivian looks up at him and replies, neither do I. But maybe that's the beauty of second chances. A faint breeze sweeps through, carrying echoes of laughter, their laughter, from years ago. Fade to black. White text appears on screen. Some stories never fade. They simply wait to be finished. Soft piano plays as the screen transitions toward the next chapter. Section 4, The Choice. The days after their reunion feel softer, quieter. Both Vivian and Edward carry a strange sense of peace and fear. Peace because they've finally found what was missing. Fear because they might lose it again. The film fades in with the golden light of morning touching the Los Angeles skyline. Edward sits on the balcony of his hotel suite, the same hotel where everything began decades ago. The city hums below, but inside him there's stillness. A letter lies open beside him. Vivian's handwriting, short and simple. Meet me where it all started. The narration begins, slow and steady. Every love story ends with a choice, to walk away or to begin again. Cut to Vivian standing on the rooftop of the Regent Beverly Wilshire, the wind brushing through her hair. She's wearing white this time, not as a symbol of innocence, but of clarity. Her eyes scan the horizon, waiting. The same skyline that once witnessed their beginning now stands ready for their ending, or their new start. Edward arrives quietly. No limousine this time, no business suit, just him, older, honest, unguarded. They face each other, the city glowing behind them like an old friend watching in silence. Vivian smiles faintly. You found me again. Edward replies softly, I never really lost you. For a moment, neither speaks. The distance between them is filled with everything they've lived through, the pain, the laughter, the growing apart, and the realization that love doesn't always follow logic. She asks, why now? He takes a deep breath, because I'm tired of almosts, of wondering what if. I don't want the version of life that looks perfect anymore. I want the one that feels real. Vivian's eyes glisten. And what if it's too late? Edward steps closer. Then let's be grateful it's not forever gone. The music swells. Strings, soft piano, a hint of nostalgia. They stand close enough for the audience to feel the tension, the quiet electricity that never died. The narration fades in. Time doesn't erase love. It tests it to see if it's worth finding again. Vivian looks down, smiling through tears. You know, I used to think fairy tales were for someone else. Then you showed me they were real. Then life reminded me they weren't it. Maybe this time, I just want something honest. Edward nods. No fairy tales, just us. He holds out his hand. The same gesture, but different now. Not a rescue, not a promise, an invitation. She hesitates, then takes it. The city hums below, the sun dipping low, painting everything in gold. Narration deepens. Once upon a time, he climbed a fire escape to find her. Now he climbs back into her life, not as a savior, but as a man who finally understands love. A short montage follows. Them walking through the city, visiting the places where they once laughed, sitting in a quiet diner sharing coffee, smiling not like strangers, but like two people who have finally forgiven time. Cut to a scene of Vivian visiting her foundation, Edward helping her with a new project, a center for women rebuilding their lives. Their partnership now feels complete, rooted not in passion alone, but in understanding. Voiceover. The best kind of love story isn't the one that ends with forever, it's the one that begins with forgiveness. We see them watching the sunset from a hilltop. No words, only the sound of the breeze. The camera slowly pans upward as the city lights come alive below them. Vivian whispers, You think love gets easier with age? Edward chuckles softly. No, just truer. She leans her head on his shoulder. He takes her hand. The narrator finishes. For some, love is a moment. For others, it's a lifetime of almosts. But for a lucky few, it's a second chance. The screen fades to black. Then the title appears in elegant golden letters. Pretty Woman 2, Second Chances 2025. Beneath it, in small text, a fan-made concept trailer. For entertainment purposes and only, the final line of narration soft and emotional. Because true love doesn't ask for perfection. It simply asks for another try. A gentle piano note lingers as the screen fades out completely.